Hi, cozy friends. Today I want to talk about analog living and the trend of analog living, what it means, why it's important in this day and age, why it's trending, and also where does it not totally meet reality for most of us, and how can we adapt our lifestyles to include analog living in a way that's realistic and in a way that recognizes sometimes we do need to have our digital devices and we do need to connect in some way, shape, or form beyond analog means, but still welcoming the ideals and like all of the benefits of analog living. It's just been such an interesting concept to me that's really resonated with, I think, how a lot of us are feeling, which is just fatigued with a lot of the digital attention economy and nonstop stimulus from social media. To see this pushback of people wanting and claiming and seeking out different ways to welcome an analog lifestyle and really just being curious about it. I think we're seeing a lot of people just playing around with the idea. Like, what does that even mean? Like, what would that mean to me? How can I include that more in my life? It's so reassuring to me, I think, as a human to feel all these feelings and feel fatigued and feel just frustrated with the state of social media and even just like connection these days, and to look around and realize like everybody else is really feeling the same way. So yeah, I'm just excited to talk today about what is analog living, how is it supposed to look in like the purest form, and then how can we adapt it to our lifestyles in a realistic way, and kind of like why it's happening right now. Like why and how did we reach this breaking point where we're like, I just don't want anything digital at all. And I also kind of want to play around with what forms of digital media do count as analog versus don't, and also like forms of media and digital devices that I think are still really valuable and still a really important part of connection and community and just hobbies in general, and how we can kind of create a healthy relationship with those to honor the ideals of analog living without having to like follow it to an absolute T. So all of that is what we'll talk about. Let's get right into it. Okay, so let's start with what even is analog? What is analog living? What is an analog lifestyle? Why do you keep seeing this word everywhere and hearing people say it? And 2026 is the year of analog living. Why? What? How? When? Analog is essentially the antithesis to digital. It's the antithesis to everything that we're experiencing now. It's everything that came before, digital internet age. I feel like it's the simplest way to explain that in the terms of like how people are using this and talking about this trend and talking about this approach to life. Think of the difference between an analog clock and a digital clock. Analog, you have these mechanisms in place, these like actual mechanical mechanisms in place to move the hands around the clock, versus digital, you have a little tiny things happening, little computer chips happening to display these numbers to you on a little screen, right? That's the difference between analog and digital. And if you aren't familiar with this sweeping trend of analog living, what it really comes down to is people being fatigued with the digital age, people being fatigued with technology, with how much is required of us with and through technology, how much of our time is required in using technology, how much we have to use technology to get by in a day, how much we're being blasted. This is what you should want. This is what you should like. This is who you should be. This is how you should act. People are tired. People are saying enough. Like the world is falling apart and you keep trying to pile things on. Like the world's falling apart and now you want to charge me $14.99 for an ads included media plan, right? Like it's almost as if every single aspect of the digital life has just gotten worse. I feel like the only aspects that aren't are the very like creator-led, very human-led charges. Things like YouTube, things like TikTok, where you're still feeling the humanity in that tech-based digital landscape. You still feel humanity because it's like the rawest form of accessing another person on the internet. And in so many ways, we just aren't getting that anymore. We're not getting that human connection when that was the entire point of the internet existing at all. The internet came to be so that people could connect with each other. And I think now connection is really the last thing that a lot of these like tech oligarchs are looking for or care about. Instead, it's like money. And so people are just seeking actual human connection again. People are seeking creativity, raw creativity in the age of like AI slop and AI taking over both art spaces and critical thinking spaces. There's so much I want to say. There's so much I want to say. It just makes so much sense to me that this has been the breaking point for people. It's the, for lack of a better word, enshittification of everything on the internet, where we're not getting anywhere near the same value for the same cost. We're not getting the same authenticity anymore. We're not getting the same actual like care in the creative process, you know, like the whole Netflix lighting phenomenon of like, we're getting worse and worse quality art, even though we're paying more than we ever have before for it. It's just like a lot of us realizing we're getting the short end of the stick here. We're getting the bad end of the deal. We are kind of powerless to doing anything about that. All we can do is, you know, withhold our money, but then we are punished for it in that we can't watch the same things as everybody else or participate in the same things. And when our entire culture is built around media in the digital age, and cultural conversations are surrounding popular shows at the time, popular movies at the time, when you try to do a self-protest, when you try to do a small lifestyle protest by withholding your money and saying, I'm not going to pay for this until the quality increases, then you're the only one who's punished by not being able to partake in these moments. And it's just this terrible relationship between consumer and corporations right now that really just puts us in this like rock and a hard place position, I suppose, where we can want more for ourselves and still kind of feel powerless in that. And so then we just kind of have to accept what's given to us. All of that pushed up against a world that is just pushing people to their absolute limit. It's pushing people to their limit and not giving them a fair shot or a fair compensation for being pushed to their limit. So you have an entire society and an entire community that's like, okay, well, I'm pushed to my limit. All I have is my simple little pleasures in life. And now a lot of those are forced to be digital. And so then turning to those digital simple pleasures and those being absolute crap. Poo-poo doo-doo, right? It only makes sense that this combination of factors equals people saying, I'm just done. I'm done. I'm dropping all of this. I'm not paying money monthly for absolute crap. I refuse to have my brain taken over and my phone addiction worsened and my susceptibility to ads taken advantage of time and time again, because that's all that you're providing me. That's all I've gotten used to over the years. I'm done. I'm dropping it. Now people are creating their own lane. They're reconnecting with hobbies and interests and forms of media even that do not require the digital age, the digital space, that don't, you know, bend over for tech corporate oligarchs, right? And really that's where I see this analog living trend, I guess you can call it, in the grand scheme of things, in kind of the cultural zeitgeist, if you will, that we're in. It just makes sense. I think I just feel such a strong sense of community that this has really taken over, because we're all in the same place. Like, we all are tired. We're all all done with being taken advantage of. We're all done with feeling out of control. And that's what brings us into the next portion, which is like, what was the effect of all of this? What is the continued effect of the digital age and social media on our brains? Like, how is it affecting us in a way that is stripping ourselves of our humanity and our creativity and our empathy? And what does that mean for us? What does that look like? So let's get into that. But before we get into that, I want to thank our cozy sponsor, Factor. You guys know Factor well at this point, but if you don't, Factor is a meal delivery service that delivers fresh meals right to your door. Fresh, never frozen. You pop those babies in the microwave for 2 minutes, just 2 minutes, and you've got a balanced, nourishing meal right in front of you. I've always raved about Factor because it saves me so much time and like truly my sanity. I am not somebody who enjoys cooking. Most of the time, I really don't want to go through all of the stages and pains and logistics of going to get groceries and having to know what I might cook possibly, and then things go bad in the fridge because I don't end up cooking them, or they don't, and I have to spend hours in the kitchen cooking and then cleaning up and then saving things, and then I have to eat the leftovers you know what I mean? It's just a whole process, and it's not something that brings me joy personally. Spending 2 minutes to heat something up and then be able to right away have a balanced, nourishing meal. Yeah, that's literally my dream. That's perfect. It allows me to focus on the things that I want to focus on, whether that's hobbies, whether that's more analog hobbies, whether that's work. And it's also perfect for the new year. Like if you have New Year's goals of eating more balanced meals and just nourishing yourself a little bit better, it makes it so easy. Most of the meals deliver 30 grams plus of complete protein, some of them up to 53 grams. So that's supporting, muscle repair and recovery, which is really, really good for anyone who's on like a new wellness fitness journey. So if you'd like to try Factor out, head to factor75.com or click the link below and use Cozy K FB50 to get 50% off your first Factor box plus free breakfast for over a year. That's code Cozy K FB50 to get 50% off your first Factor box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Thank you, Factor. Okay, so let's talk about what social media does to our brains. How is it absolutely rotting our brains, and rotting our brains it is. I don't know about you, but I personally feel like my attention span, I've already got other things going on with my attention span, okay? But my attention span, apart from those other things going on, is infinitely worse than it has been in the past. My ability to just sit and be still with myself, infinitely worse. And I do feel like each year it gets worse. It's not related to like an age thing. It's something I just feel in my soul, in my core, that it's that damn phone. It's that damn phone. And this is coming from someone who really, really prioritizes hobbies and spending a lot of intentional time with myself. And yet I still succumb to it. Like I still am weakened by like just an evening of scrolling on my phone. It gets me. It'll get me. Maybe I have a nice little streak of like 2 weeks where I only pick up my phone here and there to check on friends on social media, or like, I post my short form videos because I am a content creator and I need to do that to make a living. But I post my short form videos and then I go, and then I catch up when I need to. I keep it strictly job related, and then I log off, and then I can go do my hobbies. But one weak moment, one vulnerable moment of getting a video that's ha 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 he he so funny, and then I'm doom scrolling for hours. It happens to the best of us, right? But it's in that moment that I literally feel like my brain is locking into the matrix and like I am no longer in control. Like I am but a digital ant locked in my meat suit. Whoa. But you know what I mean? Like I feel it. I feel the moments when I have given myself over to that damn phone. Simply put, it's phone addiction. It's phone addiction. What all of us are going through, what all of us are experiencing is simply phone addiction, because these companies have absolutely optimized the algorithms, have optimized placements of notifications. They've optimized the times to send you notifications, what to say in those notifications. All of these companies thrive off of figuring out psychologically how to keep your attention for as long as possible, how to grab it when it senses that you're a little bit checked out, how to grab it, and then how to keep it and 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 keep it. So no, it's not our fault, really. Can we help it? Yes, but it's not really our fault. But should we be aware of it? Absolutely. Should we be trying to combat it? Absolutely. What's the saying? Admitting it's the first step. As soon as we all realize we are addicted to our phones, which a lot of us have for years and years. As soon as we realize that, admit that, and acknowledge the seriousness of it and the complicated adverse effects, that's when we can really start to heal. And I truly feel like that's what we're doing with this analog living movement. So yeah, why does it rot our brains? I don't know the exact science to this, but it does have to do with like a dopamine cycle. You are getting dopamine hits over and over and over. The algorithms are hacking your emotions really to give you dopamine, and then you're sad, and now you're crying, and now you're laughing, and now you're happy, and it's this constant cycle that's keeping you pulled in through dopamine cycles. There are more and more studies coming out that show just how detrimental short form content is to our mental health and to our like brain cognition, our ability to remember things, our ability to just function cognitively, our ability to critically think. There's a lot of studies about younger kids and how it's affecting impulse control and emotional regulation, and how a lot of kids raised on iPads are unable to have that impulse control and emotional regulation. There's there's a need for instant gratification. And when that doesn't happen, then there's like a huge emotional outburst because there isn't that emotional regulation. So there's both an effect on younger generations and there's still an effect on us. And there's more and more studies about, our brain takes longer to fully develop than we think. It actually takes till I think like 32 to reach your full brain development. So a lot of us are still in the stages of setting those cognitive practices in stone, and we still have time. Even post 32, even if your brain is fully developed, you still have the time. You still have everything you need to be able to unplug yourself from that matrix, from that damn phone. And so, yeah, I sit here and I think about how much worse my memory is. I think about how I make light of it. I joke about it, but it's really not funny. It's not funny, is it? It's not something that I think that we should normalize, and I think that we should joke about. And of course, we have to joke around to cope with the fact that like we really got ourselves in this mess, didn't we? At the end of the day, I do think we should be taking this as seriously as we need to be able to actually curb our phone addiction and actually take steps to reject what's being pushed on us and pushed on us and pushed on us. And yeah, I don't know about you, but I personally hate to think of my poor brain withering away because of, I don't know, my algorithm wanting to serve me just slop. And it's only going to continue to be slop. And it's really difficult. I also want to bring up this point because there's nuance to it, right? There's nuance. In the same scrolling sessions that I'll just see a million videos that I could have gone my whole life without seeing. It didn't change anything about my life. Maybe it got me a little giggle. Maybe it inspired me for a second, but I truly could have lived without those videos. For every like 100 of videos like that, there's one that makes me go, oh my God, but what if I never saw this? This changed my perspective on something. This changed my life in some way. This taught me something new. This showed me a new perspective from a person and their identity that I had not previously encountered in life. This showed me a new skill. This showed me a recipe I want to make. This like connected me to a fandom that I love and that brings me joy. It's so difficult, right? It's so difficult because, therein lies the rub. Like, there's the rub, The internet is so beautiful in so many ways and can teach us so many things and can connect us with so many people. And yet, it brings us all of this as well. And so it's hard. And that's part of why I wanted to make this video, because like the internet brought us the analog living movement. The internet introduced us all to like, hey, this is a movement that's happening. Maybe it's a good idea for you. And a lot of us went, you know what? Hell yeah. And we wouldn't have figured that out. We wouldn't have found that unless we had been on the internet. I think that instead of trying to like reconcile that in a way that just completely denounces the internet and says the internet is all bad, I think there's a way to approach analog living that acknowledges there is a good part to the internet and like there is a role that it can play in our lives without it taking over completely and without it bringing all the slop along with the good things. And I think that really, we'll talk about it more, but I think that really just takes intentionality in your approach to the internet rather than consuming blindly. And that's something that, I want to explore with y'all. What does that mean? What does that look like? So how do we approach analog living in a way that does denounce the bad parts of the internet, the parts that are rotting our brains, the parts that are robbing us of time with people that we love, robbing us of time we could be spending on other hobbies and things that we want to nurture and grow, but also honors like the parts of the internet that do help us learn and grow and that do help us connect with the people that we love and care about. And I think that comes down to what I'll call intentional versus passive consumption. Passive consumption is, I feel like, what a lot of us do right now. It's how a lot of us interact with the internet in the digital space. We open our phones on an impulse. We feel that little, I need dopamine, even though that's not a conscious thing. It's just, we grab for our phones. A couple of minutes pass, we're sitting there and automatically grab for our phones, whether it's to talk to somebody on our phones, whether it's to scroll, whatever it is, grab the phone and show me something. That's kind of the passive approach. Or maybe you're grabbing your phone for something specific and then, you veer off and now you're locked into the passive consumption mode. Scrolling endlessly is usually that's just going to be passive consumption. Putting something on just to put something on while you're doing something else and you're not really paying attention to it, most of the time that's passive consumption. And that is where we are the most vulnerable. That is where we're susceptible to the whims of the algorithm the most. I think those are the moments that we can patently across the board say, probably not good for our brains and for us. And obviously there are caveats and there's exceptions and all of that, but I think by and large we can say, yeah, not good. When we look at intentional consumption or meaningful consumption, whatever descriptor makes sense to you, that looks more like I have a question about something. I'd like to look that up. I have this book that I want to go pick up. I'm going to go on this website, put in that order, and close my phone. I want to watch an hour to 2 of YouTube videos while I do the dishes, and I want to actually take them in. I want to play a video game. I want to get to this part in the video game. I want to play for 1 to 2 hours. I'm going to do that for that amount of time and leave it at that. I want to connect with a friend. I'm going to text them about this specific thing, or I'm going to set up a call, a FaceTime call or a Discord call and have a little session with them for this amount of time. Approaching things with intention. Y'all are smart. Like, we see the difference, right? Like passive versus intentional. My approach to analog living this year and beyond, I don't know, we'll see. My approach is not cold turkey. It's not cutting everything off and not touching a single thing, because that's not going to work. That's not realistic. We need tech for things. We need tech to communicate with people. Also, it's simply enjoyable sometimes. Like it can be enjoyable with all of the bells and whistles and harmful things stripped away from it. Like YouTube, like this video, like hopefully this video is something you're enjoying, and you wouldn't find that without connection to the digital space and to the internet. There's intention in that. There was intention in you clicking on this video and wanting to chit chat and wanting to like just deep dive into the analog living movement. So we know, right? We know when it's intentional. We know when it's passive. I think the trick is catching ourselves before that moment. So whether you need to have some guardrails up, maybe you need to have the apps that block your apps. I have a brick, and that makes you go to a physical location to tap your phone and lock the apps. And then when you need to unlock them, you have to go back to that physical location. So you are truly being intentional with your time, because you have to go to that physical location is intentional. If you need something physical like that, if you need something that like is creating guardrails for you, then perfect. If you don't, and you feel like you have a good sense of, I'm not going to cross that line if I set it for myself, then just like really being intentional before you pick up your phone. Why am I picking up my phone right now? Every time, maybe you need a journal, maybe you need a diary to write down every instance that you've had the urge to pick up your phone. You can write it. You can start a note in your phone that you open every single time you open your phone and say, what am I doing right now on my phone? Is there a purpose, or did I just open it out of habit? And then when you write down habit, then you lock your phone, you put it down. You could do that in a physical journal. You could do that in your phone. Either way, creating a system of accountability with yourself, for yourself, to be able to require intentionality out of how you interact with media. Setting timers for yourself, maybe for like, if you're a gamer like me, I love a little gaming moment. For me, I actually just can't really spend too much time on a game, because I just, that attention span. But sometimes I do. Sometimes I like get lost in it. And so setting timers for yourself, if you're like, okay, I just want to spend 2 hours, then set a timer for yourself. There you go. Create a YouTube playlist for only the videos that you want to watch, only the videos you've sought out, or only the videos that have spoke to you that week. Create a playlist, only watch those. If you do really, really get joy out of scrolling, if there is an intentionality to scrolling for you, also something you can set a timer for, and set a timer in a way that you actually will follow. The like screen time alerts that pop up, I ignore those. I don't know about you. Maybe you won't, and maybe that works for you, and perfect. For me, when that pops up on my Instagram, I go ignore. And so setting timers that actually will hold you accountable, I think, is the way to approach scrolling with intentionality. Although I do think for me, I am just going to try to scroll less and less and less this year. And I think that is something that I need to try to kind of cold turkey for myself. The interaction with media in general is not the problem, in my opinion. I think for some people, they might think differently. But in my opinion, it's really just the mental space that you're in when you're interacting with that media. Is it meaningful? Is it intentional? Or is it passive? Intentional choice, conscious choice versus default state versus coping mechanism, right? Yeah. Now moving into more of the logistics of analog living, moving into like the hows and whats of analog living. The first thing I want to talk about is avoiding a overconsumption trap, or just a consumption trap at all, for this movement, for this trend. Because like all trends, we can get wrapped up in it and we can say, that's perfect for me. That's a bit of me right there. I'm going to do that. That's going to be the new me. And I'm going to buy all of the things that have to do with this trend or this movement. Just a little disclaimer that I know that happens in my head. I go, okay, now I'm this person. I have to get all of the things for this thing. And I'm going to be the best at getting all of the things for this trend or this new person that I'm going to be. All of that to say, I'm being very intentional in participating in this analog movement, analog living movement, and not getting anything new for it. Because there's no need to. There's no need to. If you need a journal to journal, you don't need a new journal. I'm sure you have many. And if you do need a new journal, fine. But you don't need a new journal. And then you don't also need an entire DVD collection to be able to, cancel all of your streaming subscriptions. And then you also don't need, a DVD player, a CD player, XYZ. Right? You know what I mean. All of these things that are accoutrements, that are accessories to the analog living trend and movement, are things that exist already. They already exist in life. They exist on this planet. All of the DVD players and the CD players and the DVD collections, CD collections, all of the books, everything exists already. You can go on eBay, you can go on Mercari, you can go to your thrift store, and you can find all of the things you're looking for that play into this like analog nostalgia, non-digital, non-reliance on media companies. That's just a reminder to myself and to y'all, if y'all need to hear it, that nothing new needs to be bought for this trend. Nothing new needs to be acquired. It's simply just a change in mindset and a refocus on what your priorities are. And even though there are parts of this that are like, okay, instead of having to pay for Netflix, I do want to curate my personal DVD collection, or I do want to curate a CD collection instead of subscribing to a problematic music service. That's all fine and dandy. Again, secondhand, a slow, intentional curation of your collection versus a quick, fast dopamine hit. Right. Okay, so what are some ways? Now we can get into the fun part. We've talked about all, the ideologies, and we've analyzed, we've deep dived. Now let's talk about the fun part of this all, which is like, how do we go about analog living? How do we go about embracing this lifestyle of saying goodbye to digital media, saying goodbye to tech, not having to rely on it so much, and instead welcoming the good old days? Not really the good old days, but the good old days of tech and the eras of tech that weren't reliant on our attention and our dopamine and just were simply there for convenience. And even before the tech of it all, what ways can we connect with ourselves and creativity and hobbies that leave behind the digital age and welcome a more hands-on, tactile, creative energy? I think the first thing is writing more with your hands. There are studies that show writing something out exponentially increases your memory regarding that thing. So writing out any notes that you have, writing out any thoughts that you have, writing out creative ideas you have, writing out your to-do list for the day, writing your diaries, your journal entries. Maybe you want to keep track of the TV shows you want to watch, the movies you want to watch, the books you want to read. Write it out physically. Write it out. More writing in our analog living stage, because when you take screenshots, when you write in your notes app in your phone, where does it go? It just flies away, goes off into the ether. I don't look at it again. I don't think about it again. Sometimes, like, some notes do have a purpose, but most of them do not. Writing it out benefits your memory, and it also just keeps you away from your digital devices when you don't need it. I think a lot of the analog living approach can be just us being honest with ourselves about, like, when do we really need our phone versus when do we not? We don't need our phone to write out notes. We don't need our phone to save things for references. We can find other ways. I think that encourages us to be just a little bit more creative too. Like, if you want to write out your TV show list, you can do it in a cutesy way. You can put it in a cute little journal and you can have fun with it. Things can be more intentional and fun when you're putting pen to paper. Writing more in general. Write more. Write about your feelings more. Write about your day more. Write about things you read, things you watch, any intake you have from the day. Write about it. It's also a great memory exercise. It helps with your cognitive health to just write things out and analyze. You don't even have to analyze. You can just summarize. That helps with your memory too. It's connecting brain, body, world, pen, paper. And that is important. It's important. I know it sounds kind of silly, but it is more important than I think we realize. What other swaps can we do? We can do iPods and CDs over, like I said, problematic streaming services. We can do DVDs and VCRs over streaming services that cost an arm and a leg every month, and they keep adding on requirements and they keep adding ads, and you have to keep upgrading your thing to not see ads, even though the point was to not see ads in the first place. Libraries have all of these things. Libraries have DVDs, libraries have CDs, libraries have vinyl, truly everything you could want. So not only can you make all of these swaps, you can make them all for free with a library card. Yeah, we love libraries. Yay! Physical books instead of Kindles, instead of reading on your phone, instead of audiobooks. And listen, I think both a Kindle and an audiobook are perfectly fine uses of digital devices. I think those rarely veer you into passive consumption. But still, if you want to make a fully analog swap, that's just an idea. And then, of course, point and shoot cameras. Polaroid cameras, instead of taking pictures on your phone that often just go poof into the void. Having a physical camera that you bring to Walgreens and you print out and you can share with friends, or you can scrapbook. Having Polaroids that you can hand out to people. The moment itself is more intentional, but also you carry that moment with you every time you look at it on your wall. Definitely a great analog swap. Those are just some of the things I thought of, but I would love, oh my gosh, you guys, please comment some analog swaps you're thinking about, some analog swaps you've heard about, what you're doing, what your approach is, any ideas. I would love to hear them, because I think those are like the most obvious ones, but what else? I'd love to hear. And next, I want to talk about some hobbies that are purely analog, a lot more using your hands, using your brain, just a fun list of some of my favorites that require nothing digital at all. And I just want to preface this by saying, just because these hobbies are analog does not mean they are superior to hobbies that are not. As a certified hobby girl, as a hobby lover, as a hobby dabbler, hobby hoarder, and a lot of those hobbies being digital, I do not think there's a hierarchy in quality of a hobby based on it being digital or analog, especially when like there is a lot of media that's so important. I think being a cinephile, I think watching movies and shows is a hobby. Maybe I'm in the minority, I don't know, but I truly think that is a valid hobby. Art is important, and art takes form in a lot of ways, one of those being digital media. That's not nothing. That's also very important, and like I said, there's no hierarchy there. Gaming, shows, movies, even watching your favorite content creator. I think those are totally valid hobbies and so important. And also there are hobbies that you do have to be more intentional about. You do have to make sure that it's not veering into the passive consumption lane. Just a little disclaimer. But with that out of the way, some of the hobbies that I think are really good for replacing that like phone reach that happens where you're like, ooh, I want to fiddle. I just need to like quiet my mind a bit. Scrapbooking. And scrapbooking has such a sentimental value to it too, you know, like take those pictures that you took in an analog form and make something out of it. Make something that, you know, is lasting and that means something to you and that cements a memory in your mind and is not just a fleeting collection of pixels on your phone. Scrapbooking really combines like a lot of things. It's not just this tactile moment of like, I'm cutting and I'm gluing, and that's so much fun. That like, I love that part about it. It's also adding this intentionality and meaning to your memories, and that's so important. Memory keeping is a lost art in so many ways, and I feel like right alongside embracing scrapbooking as like a tactile, busy hand hobby, it's also honoring a lot of what we're talking about here, which is like, let's get back into our heads, let's get back into our memories and our real connections with people instead of a lot of the like surface level fleeting forgetfulness that's happening right now. So scrapbooking, I love. I love that it doesn't have to be like super creative. It doesn't require a lot of like technical skill well creatively. It doesn't require a lot of actual creative bones in your body. You can go full balls to the walls creativity with it and unleash your full creative potential. But really, you can just do something simple, and that's what's really nice about it. And I think adjacent to that is like junk journaling. You can just throw all of your little tidbits and ephemera together that you collect from the day, and it means something to you. Like, it doesn't have to look pretty, doesn't have to mean anything to anybody else, but like, you see that napkin from that coffee shop, you see that ticket from that train ride, and you're like, I remember that day. A couple hobbies I didn't personally get too much into, but I know people love for this purpose are knitting and crochet. Also, I'd add in embroidery and cross stitch and needle felting. These are perfect for having something to do with your hands, and you could listen to music on your record player or your CD player while you do it, and just really have that meditative moment where you are doing something, but it is a little bit more idle in a way, you know, like it's repetitive, it's meditative in nature, and you can build this beautiful end product by having this slow, quiet moment with yourself, and that's lovely. Some other hobbies I love for this purpose are coloring. Coloring is such a good, calming, cozy hobby that you can really take as far as you'd like to. Like, you can keep it as simple as possible by just coloring in the lines, one color per section, and leave it at that. Or you can get really into it. I've gotten really into it in the past year of like adding some shading and blending and cute like gel pens and acrylic paint on top to really accentuate some parts of it. You can get freaky with it, or you can keep it really simple, and I love that. Gem painting or diamond painting is kind of similar in the sense that like you don't have to rely on creativity. I'll also add paint by number in that. You don't have to come up with something new. You don't have to have technical skill. You can just follow the numbered pattern and check out mentally, or if you really need to like think something through. Sometimes I've started a gem painting when I'm like, I need to think. I need a moment. I need an hour or two where I can just simply think something through. I need to have an argument in my head maybe. And you can do that fully, like get into your head, into your brain, check out of the physical world in some ways, and really just ruminate in here, while at the same time you're putting together a lovely piece of art. So I love gem painting, diamond painting. There's also like dot coloring that is a similar concept, but it's like color by number almost, but instead of coloring, you're just using dots. And again, like there's so many hobbies that keep it so simple for you, but you are still engaging with creativity. You're playing with colors and art and creation without the pressure. But then if you want that, if you want to like stretch your creativity to its limits, then you could get into other things like painting and sketching and watercoloring. And that's what I just love so much about hobbies, is that there's such a wide breadth. There's so many that are analog. There's so many that don't require any kind of digital interaction at all. And so many that meet you where you're at in terms of like need, meet you where you're at in terms of skill. And that's why I love hobbies. I have so many videos about hobbies and my favorite hobbies and hobbies that I try out in vlogs and hobbies that I talk about in lists and whatever. So you can always check those out. But reconnecting with, if you are not, which I'm sure if you watch me, you already are reconnected with your hobby bone, but reconnecting with hobbies is really reconnecting with your inner child. It's reconnecting with the things that like lit you up and excited you as a child. And I think we forget those. We forget those things as we get older because we're told they're like silly or pointless, or like we need to focus on more practical things, or like we're embarrassed by them or not. And it's just they kind of have fallen to the wayside. I know it seems silly to try and prioritize things you cared about as a kid, but really those are the things that are like so purely you and so innocently and like untouched by the world representations of you and your spirit and the things that light you up and make you happy and bring you joy. Truly, I have felt the happiest when I have reconnected with those things and I have explored those things in adulthood, even if they end up looking different, right? Like even if you're like, well, as a kid, I liked to finger paint. And it's like, okay, maybe as an adult, you might not like to finger paint, but maybe you like to paint. As a kid, I liked to sing and dance around the house. Okay, so maybe you'll love karaoke. Maybe you'll love to take a dance class as an adult, you know? So it might look a little different, but still like honoring and healing those little inner child moments and inner child wants and needs. It's very important in this and helps you find a purpose outside of what your phone is telling you about yourself. You know, your phone's telling you should be this person. Your phone is telling you, the algorithm is serving an identity to you on a silver platter, but really that identity is just like 3 capitalisms in a trench coat trying to sell you something versus like what you really want, who you really are. Okay, so to wrap all of this up, it's really about micro changes in your daily life versus a macro overhaul of like who you are as a person. I think that a lot of approaches to like rebranding, becoming a new person, new year, new me is based on this idea that you can completely change who you are overnight and then that will last and that will stick. That's not how we work as humans. It's just simply not how we work. We have a kind of comfort equilibrium, and maybe we'll go crazy one week and we'll say, I'm this person now, but we always kind of come back here. To make really long lasting change, we have to make slow increments to raise this equilibrium to like a different level. And you know, maybe that's on a different scale. Maybe it's this way, maybe it's this way, but to make actual change in who we are, it's small, slow habits instead of complete overhauls and then all of a sudden we're a new person. That's not realistic. So micro changes slowly over time, slow swaps, slow guardrails for ourselves, you know, adding a brick into your life, adding a dumb phone into your life, changing from a streaming service to an iPod, changing from Netflix to DVDs. Small changes, not all at once, small changes over time. And slowly we will be less reliant on technology and really distill out of the technical age, the digital age, what was meant to be distilled in the first place and leave all of the other crap behind. And if you're not sure, if you're not completely sold on the analog living movement and lifestyle, I would say give yourself like a weekend, give yourself a day, even just one single day of nothing digital at all. No phones, no computers, no nothing. And if you want to be brave, do a full weekend, do a digital detox retreat and just see how you feel. Like, see if that changed anything for you. See if that spoke to you in any way. See if that like opened your mindset and like allowed you to tap into a more creative side, a more introspective side. See how that feels for you. If you're like, I don't know, man, I think I have a pretty healthy relationship with technology and I don't think I need to do all of this. So fine, that's fine. Good. I'm happy for you. But I do think that a lot of us are craving that for a reason. And I think we should listen to ourselves when our bodies and our minds are yelling at us like, put the phone down, please. I yearn for a time, a simpler time when we had DVDs and VHSs and we didn't need to pay for Plubis on Plibu for $14.99 for laying our eyes on a picture on a pixel on our phone, and now I owe Flub $50. We yearn for a simpler time for a reason, and it's because the way that the world is now is not natural, and it's not meant to serve us. It's meant to suck us dry and take everything that we have to give. So don't feel bad. Don't feel guilty. Don't beat yourself up when you have a day where you are sucked back in. Don't feel like, I want to make this great change, but it's happening so slowly, so I might as well not. Or like, I want everything to be analog, but I just can't, and so I'm not. Just find the ways that work for you. Find the little acts of resistance that work for you. Stay true to those. Honor that feeling in yourself that you just can't do this anymore. Honor the analog soul in you that yearns for something a little more real and true and honest and physical. Honor that part of you. And don't feel frustrated. Don't give up when it's not perfect or it's not quick enough or it's not fun, because it also might not be fun. Working through an addiction, which like I said, we all have, is not fun. It's really not fun. And it's always easier to fall back into it. And like I said, the algorithms are built to suck us back in. So stay strong. Y'all got this. I am a fallible human, and I'm telling you right now, I'm going to have a lot of speed bumps on this journey to analog living. living. I'm going to have a lot of ups and downs and backs and forths and relapses and all kinds of things, but it's about the journey. It's about the journey. I'm seeing the destination of, a well-balanced life with analog and digital intertwined in a way that works best for me. And I'm okay with it looking a little rocky to get there. You should too. You shouldn't beat yourself up. You got this. We got this. And here's to a beautiful life where we honor our needs and we honor the creative inner child within us, free ourselves from the digital prison so many of us are in, while also allowing for the benefits of the digital world that we can take advantage of. Oh, all of that to say, I hope this video wasn't too depressing. I hope it was more inspirational than a rant, but truly, I do feel like we as a society, we as a community want better for ourselves. And that truly is so inspiring. Like, that is so inspiring to see. It's so inspiring to be a part of, is people who are saying, I want better. We're not laying back and taking it. We are standing up, looking around and saying, I don't like this, and I want better. And hell yeah, good for you, good for us. We got this. Let's approach this year a little more analogically. I will see you next week. I love you. Stay cozy. Bye.